Super cool. Good morning. It has been a minute. My name is Tony McNeil. I am the founder and facilitator of Anti-Black Conversations. And today we are having an amazing conversation. I'm super excited with some great folks that are close friends of mine. Today we are going to have a conversation about soul food. We are going to just talk about, we're going to go in depth about our personal relationship with soul food. Some of us had to divorce it, even though we're in love with it. We're going to just talk about how food has impacted us and how it impacts us in the Black community. Before we get started in conversation, um, I just want to make sure that we have opportunity to introduce everybody that is joining us today. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to popcorn it around. So Pastor Curtis, instead of reading y'all's bios, because I thought I'm going to be professional, I'm going to read everybody's bios, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then I will come around and have open questions for you guys. So Pastor Curtis, can you introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone, afternoon, other places, evening, wherever you may be. My name is Pastor Curtis Smith. I'm a native here from Stockton, California. I am the pastor here at Destiny Christian Center Church and also director for a community, faith-based community organizing network called Faith in the Valley. And I'm glad to be a part of this important conversation with the amazing people that are here on this panel. Thank you, Tony, for your invitation.
And Pastor Curtis, you get to popcorn it to somebody.
Okay, it's Tama, my birthday buddy.
There it is. August 17th was a good day.
Good day.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tama Brisbane. I'm the executive director of With Our Words. I am Stockton's Poet Laureate. I am the San Joaquin County Coordinator for California Poets in the Schools, known variously as Mama T, Nana Bear to a select few, Tama Lynn when I'm in deep trouble. And my relationship to soul food, we ain't never really been homies like that. So I don't have to divorce it because we just never kicked it. When I tell people the things that I do like and don't like to eat, they insist that my Black people card is a temporary visa. So I'm going to be here probably as an observer, but I'm here. I'm down with this. Let's go. Let's go to Kelvin.
Hey, good morning, everyone. That's funny. Thank you, Elder Tony, for the invite. I'll get into my relationship, obviously, a little later with soul food. But I actually have the same relationship for the most part that my sister spoke about, and I'll elaborate on it later. But native Southern Californian, born in Watts, California, 1965, during the Watts riots, the birthplace of the late Nipsey Hussle. We share the same birthplace as well as birth date. I was actually born in the middle of the height of the riots, and police escorted to the hospital, and now I fight against, as it were, racist police officers and that system. But community organizer with Inland Congregations United for Change. I work out of our San Bernardino office, and little factoid, Wednesday night, our city council voted after 6 months of a campaign I was leading to invest $1 million into our program, in which the city has never invested a red penny before. So major win for the city of San Bernardino and Black and brown bodies in our city. So I will popcorn it to Donna.
Well, hello, all. I am Donna Marie, and I am a community leader and activist through theater and performance arts. I'm the founder of Tosco, Telling Our Authentic Stories Theater Company, and our mission is to keep the stories of people of color alive through theater and performance arts. My relationship to soul food um, has been, we flirt, we mess around a little bit. However, I have learned how to substitute, the salt pork and ham hock for maybe a smoked turkey and things of that nature in order to make a meal more healthy using, a lot of fresh herbs because growing up as a young mother, because my grandmother cooked, as a young mother, at the time they taught you a lot of tricks to keep children's bellies full. And so it was about starches and, things that were filling, breads and those type of things. And so we learned a lot of very poor habits, which for me has digressed into a late diagnosis as a type 1 diabetic in my 40s. It presented at that time, never before then. And and so I love soul food. It's comforting and it feels like family and home. And I love the flavors and the smells as they fill the room when you walk in. However, we all know a lot of us probably got our extra hips and dips from the soul food, And if we stopped eating that way, we would shapeshift, even in our health, in our levels of energy, and things of that nature. And I'll pass it back to Elda.
I love how you said that you flirt with it. Sometimes you mess with it. Man. Okay, so today I'm toggling in between facilitating and participating. So native of Stockton, born and raised. Diabetes runs in the family. So on both parents' side, my grandmother actually died from complications from diabetes. She lived with it, was insulin dependent for many years. My father was diagnosed, and I believe that it might have been in his like 40s or 50s when he was diagnosed with diabetes. And he's gone on and off of insulin, and he's really wrestled with that a lot. My mother is pre-diabetic, and has a lot of pre-existing conditions. When it comes to blood pressure, just, I mean, you name it. So we've had just all of these different things in the family. I have always struggled with weight. I've always struggled with controlling weight. And back issues, spine issues, knee joint issues, blood pressure issues, cholesterol issues, you name it. And at some point, I began to, have to really. I was not understanding why I could go to the gym and exercise. I exercise like crazy, y'all. Y'all do know that, right? I stay in somebody's gym. So I'm exercise like crazy, and I don't know if anyone resonates, with this. I exercise like crazy, and so I don't eat crazy. I don't, so it's like, what's going on? Why am I not able to control this? Why can't I, like, lose weight? And then you hear big bone did or what have you. And so then you got me researching, bones that are big, well, let me see a big bone. Tell me what that. No, I'm serious. The short of it is I really had to start exploring, historically, what was going on with food. And I believe that there are some real issues when it comes to food, and the food that we are eating. Um, so I guess the first thing that I wanted to lean into is, what's going on with the food that the Black community is being exposed to. Um, Is something wrong with it? Is it unhealthy? Is it FDA approved to kill us? Look, hey. So I just want to let's jump in. What's wrong with the food, or is it just my imagination?
Well, I'll say first off, there's a food desert. Oftentimes, we are fortunate to be in the Central Valley where we do have access to a farmer's market almost every day in Stockton. But it is not that way in most of our communities. Some people are going to the corner store to get produce that's not necessarily the freshest produce that's available, if they even understand how to incorporate fresh produce into their diet. Um, the other thing, yes, high fructose corn syrup. It's funny that you would say that. However, there was a series on Netflix, and it was based on true events. And each time they give you a snippet of something that was really happening, and it was uh, Al Pacino, and he was talking about going back and getting some of the Nazi criminals that were living in the US. But along the way, they were incorporating different documents and information about what was really going on and what their plan really was. And at the end of the day, it was creating corn syrup, which was for the purpose of hurting our health as a sugar substitute, which is all bad.
Now I have heard about the high fructose corn syrup.
Mm-hmm.
And we will dive a little bit more into food deserts because Crystal, I just seen Crystal put something in the chat too about how expensive it is to actually access healthy foods. And we're going to have to we will dive into that, Crystal. So I'm going to table that for a second. But I want to lean in for a second. So the foods that we are eating and accessing in the Black community leading to the diseases that we are experiencing?
I think so. Um, I'm not a physician. I don't have a background in medicine, but I believe so. I mean, even when you look in our communities at what's readily available, which I think someone put in the chat, um, you have an abundance of liquor stores, an abundance of fast food restaurants. And like Donna had said, you can go walk a block or two down the street, and all you'll find in a lot of these, convenience stores, as they call them, let's look at that word too. But anyway, a lot of foods that are high in fat, high in sugar, not healthy, but again, readily available. And then the way that even fast foods market really to our communities, you can get 10 hamburgers for $5 and feed your family and everybody at the church. And it just, again, it's this continuous cycle of being unhealthy. I'm 56, and when I was growing up, whenever somebody, phone would ring, my mom would start crying, somebody would pass away. Mom, what happened? Oh, they passed away. And then you later found out, had they died? Natural causes, and now you have people dying from this disease, and this disease is attached to this disease, and the medication that they give you has 15 side effects, and consult your physician, your trainer, your pastor, your community leader, your mom, your dad, your cousin, before you take this. So, and years ago, we didn't hear about that. So I totally agree with that. And even as I have throughout my last 10, 15 years of my life, just constantly working on eating healthier, and at one time, becoming a vegetarian, at a few times pescatarian. I haven't been a strict anything but eatitarian because I love to eat. But I've tried things, that I felt were healthy for me, and I'm still doing that, still engaging. But my point is that even when you look at something that's supposedly healthy for you, you still have to look at the ingredients and so forth and so on, because just because it says it's healthy, it may not really be healthy or even healthy for you.
Tony, I want
real
to
quick.
kind of tag on to that for a minute because, as a poet and as a writer, it's all about words and language for me. And there is this phrase that we all know: reading is fundamental. And the minute you start reading labels, then you have a pathway into whether or not what you are consuming is healthy or unhealthy, because the first 4 to 5 ingredients will tell you what that product is working with. And so if it's got a 19 syllable word, I promise you, that's better living through chemistry, not necessarily better living through nutrition. We didn't come here, we weren't brought here unhealthy. We brought a lot of healthy things with us that are still resonating in American cuisine today. There wouldn't be a Coca-Cola if we hadn't brought cola nuts with us. We brought okra with us. We brought black-eyed peas with us. We brought a series of rices with us. And if you go back and you look, some of the early gardens were planted with seeds that came from the continent. So somewhere along the way, we got sidetracked and we started deep frying everything. And I come from a family of ace deep fryers. My grandfather could fry grease, and it was delicious. Okay. And by the way, Kelvin, you and I come from the same community. I'm a child of the Watts riots. I went to 87th Street School, 116th Street School. I got you. So I think if we begin to look at labels, we're going to get a big clue into what's coming inside of our bodies. So
I'm going to just tap in real quick after that, Tama. And so for me, Hosea 4:6 says, our people perish for a lack of knowledge. And when you start talking about, I should say, as far as reading labels in our community, as far as when it comes to community organizing, a lot of times we're using this jargon, I should say, in our organizing and in the work that we do. And so Tony knows that on the street, when we come to the concrete, we have this term talking about break down the blah, blah, blah. And when you look at labels, it's blah, blah, and extra blah, because you don't even know what it's saying. You don't even know what's there. But it's like we even have to educate, I should say, ourselves and be in spaces where we're educating each other about the importance of that. Because I've heard it growing up. I was heard read the labels. And I'm like, I'm looking at the label. I'm seeing serving size. Maybe I understand that. And maybe I understand calorie intake. Pretty much that was the basic thing there. Is it a too many calories? Man, then when you start to break down and understand how many servings per, how many calories per serving, and that there's 5 servings of that in this bag of chips, then you start seeing basically what that means. But the educational piece about what those labels, how to read them and what they really mean, I think that's where we have to, go into as far as what is hurting us, Tony, as far as what is the food doing to us, in our Black communities and what's there. And I know this is a whole another conversation for a whole nother live session, but that's why I have a conflict with those who are talking about the vaccination when we've been putting stuff inside of our bodies for years that we don't know what it is. We don't know how to pronounce it. We don't know where it comes from. But yeah, we've been trusting this and putting it in our bodies, and now I don't understand the logic in that.
I had to laugh on that one, Pastor Curtis, because it's true. Ooh,
May I speak to
go ahead,
one more
Donna.
thing?
Mhm.
Another thing that I happen to read just a little bit of a book by I think it's Dr. Olayla Africa. and he talks about the connection between food, disease, and emotion. And I recall years ago, a grandmother that I knew who talked about how bad she felt that she contributed to her granddaughter's obesity, because every time she wanted to celebrate something, she said, let's go get some ice cream. Let's go get some food. Let's go. And so the child learned food is a reward. You eat when you're sad. Come on now, in church, you congregate around food. All of it is around food. You get sad and emotional. You had a breakup, you had a loss, you eating food. It comforts you. But what foods are you choosing to eat, right? Those are the ones that just make you feel warm on the inside. And some of those aren't necessarily the best ones to eat. And I can tell you this, in addition to all of the advertising for fast food and what have you, what about all of the marketing around alcohol in the hood? Because it's malt liquor. It's malt liquor and Alizé and all of the stuff that's going to take you to the top real quick. It's nothing healthy about what is even advertised. So when they talk about food in our communities and we are not educated around policy and how there are zoning laws, which is why a lot of white communities will protest a super Walmart coming into their community, because it's taken away from their mom and pop businesses that they honor, right? And we look at it like, I'll be able to get some cheap groceries now. And that's a true reality for a lot of people who live in poverty. I'm poor, I can't afford my rent right now, but you know what? We can eat good and I can have me a drink and a joint. And we nurture that pain and that lack with unhealthy eating.
There's a picture that I'm going to pull up here in a minute as soon as I access it. I picked each one of you guys intentionally. And so, yes, I could have gone like super professional and just pulled in nutritionists and dietitians, and all of that. But this is an anti-Black conversation. And hence the conversation part of it. I want you all to, for a moment, just, if you could go around. There are health reasons that each one of you has intentionally chosen in order to make some changes when it came to your diet, and I wanted to know, if each one of you would take a moment and just address that. So, Pastor Kelvin, why is it important to you that you eat healthy and exercise? What's the personal relationship here between you and food and your health?
And so, if I can, I'll try to summarize the last like 15 years and try to do it in like 2-3 minutes. So I'm 56. When I was 40 something, I was playing basketball with my youngest son at home on our basketball court, and got a little winded. Had I want to say I was at about 248 pounds, which was the most weight I had ever gained. Hit it well, not that I was looking bad, but just feeling bad. Went to family physician, and he and high blood pressure runs in my family, but I never had high blood pressure, but found out that my blood pressure was at stroke level when I went to see him. And, I had incorporated again on this walk of being healthier. had incorporated at that time, cutting out a lot of salt. Again, did not know I had high blood pressure, but cutting out a lot of salt, some other things. Kool-Aid, which is the hood juice, and I would not, a package talks about measure this amount sugar. That didn't go on at my house. I would get the grape and the lemon, mix those two flavors, start pouring sugar until, you had to stir for like 5 minutes to dilute it, literally, and your arm was going to break off. Because that's the only way to make Kool-Aid. We all know that. Kool-Aid is not Kool-Aid without the aid, and the aid is sugar. So, but anyway, fast forward, I didn't want to be on the medication. He put me on it, but at the same time, start working out more and changing my diet. Got off of it for a while, but about 8 months ago, suffered shouldn't say suffered because I didn't suffer. I'm preaching y'all just for a minute because it was the enemy. But suffered, I said it again. I had a mild stroke, was in the hospital for 3 days, never been in the hospital in all my life. Drove myself to the hospital, walked into the hospital, walked out of the hospital, when I was discharged, walked the whole time I was in there, went through a battery of tests of, physical therapist, MRIs, CAT scans, so forth and so on. They showed me the bleeding on my brain, all that. Were really like astounded at the fact that I walked in there, drove myself, and I was walked myself out, drove myself back home. One day I'll tell the entire story, but my point is that it's caused me to continue the journey. Even having a conversation with Pastor Curtis, probably like a 1 hour conversation the other day as to what he had been doing health-wise that he'll share with everyone, but just connecting to different people. And like you said, not so much physicians, but my brothers and sisters, like, what are you doing? You look healthier. You're talking healthier. Somebody leaned on it for a minute and I'll be done. I grew up in the Baptist church, so y'all excuse me. 30 more seconds. So, and just getting with people to find out what they're doing, because it's not always, as far as I'm concerned, and that's why they call them practicing physicians. It's not always somebody that has a diploma or certification, medical certification on their wall that's going to help you through this journey. It's people that have gone through the experience, that are living through it like you are, not to discount physicians. But again, we need people too in our lives that, again, are walking this walk or have. So that's it.
Wow. Okay. So, high blood pressure, um, mild stroke, and the word is experienced. That's the word that you kept saying suffered, and I was like, okay, no, you experienced a mild stroke. And so one, praise God. I praise and thank God that you are with us today, and that you're able to actually be a part of this conversation. Um, God is absolutely amazing, amazing. Pastor Curtis.
Yes, so let's try to summarize it. As Pastor Kevin said, it's been a journey, really a lifelong journey for me. I was that one who, back in the day, they used to shop at Rosenthal's in Stockton to go to the Husky section in order to get the clothes, for me. My godmother worked there. So I've always struggled, I should say, with weight being the largest one in my class and things like that. At the same time, being told, I should say, by family members, or sometimes, or even my father that, we need to, work on that or, do something about that. But it wasn't until, let's just say, in my late 20s, that I had a life change from a career that I thought I was going on, and basically things just so an emotional response, I should say, to a life change is what happened. And I decided that for me, my therapy was going to be like I was going to become saved and serious. So not just, not just the one, where I'm saying I'm just going, to the church like we do and singing in the choir and doing all the things that we do, but I was going to get serious about this journey. And in that journey that took place in Oakland, California, what I found out is that a part of the program after the benediction was eat addiction, right? And so that was, everything going out to eat every night, going after midnight musical, going before, everything like that. And so I began to gain an extreme amount of weight. Like I said, I always was larger, but I actually got up to 390 pounds in my saving and serious days, and everything. And so I was extremely large. At around my 30s, I was diagnosed with diabetes, but it was weird because it came and then it went away. And so I was like, just doing this whole thing about, oh, praise God, see what God can do, and everything like that. I'm not going to have it, and everything. Understanding that just a slight change actually began to reverse it, but I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have the education to know that just a few changes that I had made was going on. So when it went away, so to speak, I just started back in the bad habits that I had and basically I thought I was doing good because I would only eat one time a day. I was going to school, going to work, going to church and everything. So I thought I'm only eating once, but it was what I was eating and the time that I was eating it. It would put me to sleep. I didn't need sleeping pills. All I needed was Jack in the Box. All I needed was Wendy's, all my girlfriends, all I just needed them, line up, get my foodie calls, and I was set, right? And so, so basically, what happened is that it returned, and then right before getting married, I ended up in the hospital, and I didn't know what it was. They didn't give me a diagnosis, but it wasn't until years later that I found out in 2005 I had been affected by a condition called gastroparesis. And that's when your system, your gastrointestinal system, basically is paralyzed, and it came from the effects of diabetes, messing with my nerves, my blood flow, and everything like that. So I could not hold anything down. I couldn't even hold water, and so I ended up in the hospital. And they were telling me, and this is like right before I'm getting ready to get married. I'm in my 30s and everything. I feel like life is just really getting ready to start, and I get hit with this. I've never been in the hospital before. And I found out, that they're talking about, they're probably going to have to give me a feeding tube, and they're talking about all these different types of things that they're going, well, praise God that did not happen. And I remember my godfather coming to the hospital and him telling me, he says, Lamont Smith, he says, if you don't do something about this, you are going to die. And he was blunt. And he said some other expletives, too. And he was a Kojic pastor, but he said some words on that day. And he was like, and Lamont, if you die, I'm going to kill you. And he was a diabetic. And so, I mean, both of us, like, we have pictures together where he was like, he was almost 400. I was almost 400. Our bellies are touching. We can't even stand side by side. But he saw me as a young virgin, saying, you've got to do something about this. And so, as it went, as time went on, I started to do these diet programs. I remember accepting my calling and telling God, I want a physical manifestation of a change when I step up to speak the word. Sometimes you can hide the things that you're going through. I said, but mine is a visible thing. So I need something that shows that same thing. When I step up to preach the word of God, I want this physical change to match the inner change that I have. So within a year's time after that, I lost about 100 pounds. And basically, it was just water, drinking a lot of water and walking, just changing my exercise habits, just doing a little bit of activity. Again, as we go, when I talk about this love hate or, this back and forth, is that we never divorce. I would go back as soon as there'd be some progress. And I remember a civil rights activist in Selma, Alabama, said these words to me just a couple of years ago, but it rings true because it basically defined what it was happening. And he said, son, do not let progress fool you. So that's what I had been doing. I would get, a little step forward and then I would retreat instead of, moving forward, holding and advancing and keeping going. I would retreat back to old habits, back to old things, and basically, get back into the same situation. So I was diagnosed type 2 diabetic, and I remember 2016, I was for 2016, I suffered a stroke. Pastor Kevin was saying I had a stroke as well, a mild stroke. And so, God, but I remember it's like the next day after I had to start going to speak at a Martin Luther King event at the Civic Auditorium, and people were like, "What are you doing here?" My wife's like, you can tell you're slurring your speech and all of this stuff. Went to the hospital. They sent me home because they said they couldn't do a test until Monday, and they said, squeeze your hands, which tells you about a hospital system. That's a whole nother thing. Squeeze my finger, put your hands up in the air, smile. Oh, you're okay. We will schedule a test for you, an MRI next week. And so I went back, and what I did is I went to a town next to us, Lodi, California, where mostly white people live. And guess what? I went to an urgent care. They tested me, immediately sent me across the street to the emergency hospital, to emergency at Lodi Memorial, did the MRI, confirmed the stroke, put me in the hospital, and then a week later, I'm still in the hospital. The hospital in Stockton calls me on my cell phone to schedule MRI. I tell them I'm dead. Tell the doctor I died, and I ain't paying for nothing y'all did because you didn't do anything. But that just basically tells you about our healthcare and what they think. I didn't walk in with a bullet, so therefore I was okay. And so anyway, in that experience there, even there, when I started to get discharged from the hospital out of Lodi, is that the doctor came in and there's not my primary, but they're coming in different doctors at different times. The last doctor to come in before I was being discharged looked at the chart, put the chart down and said, okay, we're going to put you on insulin. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I remember my wife was in the bathroom, using the bathroom, and she came running out because I went crazy. I went off because I said, you have not given me one shot of insulin since I've been in this hospital. You've only changed my diet, and everything has come into alignment. My blood pressure, because when I had the stroke, my blood pressure was high and my sugar was high. Those two things were colliding, and that's what caused the stroke. When they put me in the hospital for the week, they didn't give me any insulin. They just changed the things I was eating. My numbers started to actually align themselves, and things started to get better. But then they were going to send me out of the hospital on insulin. I told them, I'm not taking it. I said, because I have not done everything on my part in order to get my stuff together. Let me try that first before I go to that. I had one doctor tell me, well, don't even come back and see me if you don't do it. So that was the first time, you guys, in 2016, when this happened, was the first time I decided to take things into my own hand, not just listen to a doctor tell me, take this, not putting me on a statin for cholesterol, not putting me on certain things for blood pressure, but I decided, like, okay, certain things I did start to take, but I would look into them and see what were they? What side effects did they cause? What else was it affecting? If I took this medication. I told them, give me a copy of every record, give me a video of the MRI, give me everything that you did, because from this point forward, I'm going to be in control of this temple that I have, my body. And so it was that stroke. And God bless that 2 years later, I wouldn't have known that my son, my miracle child, came along. So I say between him, my wife, that they saved my life, because also this became also a reason, right, to live, not to give up, not to just accept this is my lot, that this is, what does it say, genetics, that just because I had my uncle died of, from complications of diabetes, who was on dialysis for 10 years, from 29 to 39. Just because I had, family members that had colon cancer, my grandfather, just because these things were in my bloodline, I did not just accept this is what I had to have. And so basically the education piece is what turned it around for me, in order to say, I've got to take control and do everything on my part, not to be an accessory to the system that's trying to murder me and take me out of here, and the enemy that's trying to steal, kill, and destroy me.
You are messing me up. Oh my goodness. A system that is trying to murder you. Tama. Tama, you're gonna have to help me. I mean, I'm like, I am. I can't even get to COVID yet. Okay. Tom, I can't hear you. There's something going on that's keeping us from being able to hear you. I don't know what it is. You are not on mute. Try it again. Mm-mm. Can't hear you. Work on that as soon as we can hear you speak. So, Donna, mm,
Ma'am, I have never had any health problems my whole life. I did not struggle with my weight. You know, if I was a 14, I was a 14. If I was an 8, I was an 8. I really never cared about stuff like that. Never paid a close attention to the health issues that were going on in my family with my elders. I was raised by my grandmother. She had 7 children. However, there were things that existed there that as grown folks would talk, it wasn't my business to be listening to, you know. So there's a lot of things as a child. You know, I had an aunt who used to run into the house every time and she said, "Ooh, gotta pee." First thing she'd do, make a beeline for the bathroom before she greeted anybody. And it was because she took a water pill. But why? I had no idea. I didn't know what it was. And so my diabetes journey is different because I've had 4 children. I've never had gestational diabetes. I've never tested, you know, pre-diabetes or anything like that my whole life. And I go to the doctor and I take care of my health. But at 46 years old, I was commissioned to direct a play. And I thought that the stress was just driving me nuts. I dropped about 30 pounds in 2 months. I got sucked up. I was drinking water like crazy, sometimes could not make it to the bathroom. I had to go all the time. The only time my bladder was not active was if I was on stage. I don't know why. I never had to stop and go. But fortunately, you know, the body does what it does. And but when I dropped that weight, I said something can't be right, you know. So here it is now, January, February, and I go to the doctor to find out what's going on, and she says, "Oh, you're diabetic." And I said, "Diabetic?" I said, "Well, I've never, you know, had any issues with that." And again, now that I'm an adult and I'm having this journey, you know, I'm talking to my mom and my aunties and all these people who are rallying around me, telling me all this history about diabetes in our family and people who die from complications and all of those types of things that would have probably still never come up had I not almost just lost my life. Now, at that age, I went ahead and went to the doctor, and she said, "You know, you're type 1 diabetic." And I was like, "Oh, that's for babies, right?" I thought that was juvenile diabetes. She says, "No, that's a myth. That is a myth." She said, "There are people who present later in life." And this particular clinician said that she had someone present as old as 72 with type 1 diabetes. So she said, "Well, what this means for you is that you have an autoimmune deficiency. This is a disease. This isn't something that you can reverse or change. Right now, your pancreas is in a honeymoon period where it's pushing out as much insulin as it can that it has left to give before it won't give you anything else anymore. You will be insulin dependent the rest of your life." Now, that just blew my mind. They didn't let me leave without taking my first shot, just so that when I got home, I wouldn't feel apprehensive and just never take a shot, you know? it was nerve-wracking and life-changing in that I really felt like F diabetes. I've been living fine and I haven't had any problems. So why now do I need to do this? They had me see a nutritionist, and we went over nutrition, and I'm pretty educated about those type of things. We talked about how to eat, and I know I know, right? We know. And then they told me this: because you're type 1 diabetic, not only do you take long acting, you take a short acting. A short acting insulin is for if your sugar gets high and it's above the range and you've already taken your long acting, you take the short acting in order to bring your sugar back into the right range, which is a balancing act of understanding serving sizes and carbohydrates and things of that nature, because your total carbs is what the sugar actually is. It's not really just what the sugar says. It's the total carbs that you're going to look at, just carbohydrates that break down into the sugar. So I know. I was an athlete. I did. I know how to eat. I know. I don't even eat bad, right? I don't eat bad. Do I? I don't eat fast food anymore. But I love my pancakes and bacon and eggs in the morning with that Mrs. Butterworth and my cup of coffee and my orange juice. And I feel every time I get my sugar, my body feel like it's real, right? Because they even talk about the studies when people have sugar, it's just like cocaine. It does the same thing in the brain. It's the same reaction to a heroin addict looking at a needle. So I'm like, dang, you mean to tell me I'm on dope? This is dope, right? Okay. I still don't have all of it. I know what I'm supposed to do, but then going through the healthcare system, right, Pastor Curtis, I'm having trouble getting my supplies. I'm having trouble advocating for myself. My doctor's advocating, the endocrinologists, the diabetic specialists, the nutritionists, they're all pushing for me to get the freestyle thing, right, where I can just scan it. Because if I'm type 1, I got to test like 5 times a day. 5 times a day, prick your finger and find out where your blood glucose level is, right? Because I might have to give myself insulin in order to make sure I don't spike up. And somewhere between 47 and now 49, I say the last month or so, I had not been on my stuff. It was just like I wasn't taking my insulin, and I'm eating what I want to eat. But I don't eat bad, do I? Do I? I know. No, I don't. But I'm not taking care of myself. And then I have a friend who falls ill, and I'm trying to take care of them. And next thing you know, we both waking up sick. And I said, something ain't right. I got to go to the hospital. So we go to emergency, and I'm like tachycardia, which is a rapid heart rate. I can barely breathe. It's how my breathing was coming in. I was getting more and more nervous as I approached the desk because I didn't understand what was going on with me, and my sugar was out of control. And he told me I had diabetic ketoacidosis, and I was in the hospital for 2 days with an insulin drip because I wasn't taking care of myself. Now they say, you're gonna learn that fat meat is greasy, and going through that experience for me which just recently happened. I was fortunate. I called Elder Tony, and she, next thing I know, I woke up, I turned around, Tama was right. Oh, how you doing? Set her bag down. Set her bag down. And she was locked and loaded. And I was so fortunate to have the love and the support and the community just wrap around me. But that was what it was that got me through. It wasn't necessarily the medical services, and not, because at the end of the day, they messed my prescription up. It was all, they sent me home with prescription with vials and hypodermic needles and all this. I'm like, have you listened? I've been here for 2 days. I'm not a type 2 diabetic. I'm a type 1. I told you I take this insulin and this insulin. I told you I need this and I need this. And you send me out of here with something I don't even know nothing about. I take the prescription. The prescription is called over to Walgreens on Hardin. I'm putting them out. Walgreens on Hardin is probably the worst Walgreens in Stockton or anywhere I've ever been. And they keep messing up my stuff. And the pharmacist had the nerve to ask me, well, what happened to your last glucometer? That's not your business. You have a script for a new one. Fill the prescription. It's covered under my insurance. Well, you just had one prescribed. That don't matter. Can you fill my prescription? Well, you're going to have to come back tomorrow. It'll be ready tomorrow, which tomorrow, guess what? It was back ordered until Monday. So
wait, hold on, because you're killing me. You're killing me now. You're killing me with all. Honest to God, you are, because at the end of the day, so Pastor Curtis said something about the system trying to murder him, and then his wife was saying that he had to become his own advocate.
The lady next to me in my room was like, y'all trying to kill me. She yelled out. She said, y'all trying to kill me. Y'all gonna come here. Who you talking about? I'm talking about you. She didn't like nobody who wasn't Black.
Wow.
It's crazy. So here's what ends up happening. They didn't fill the prescription there. I said, how? I said, I just got out of the hospital. I've been in there 2 days with DKA, and you're telling me that you don't have a glucometer for me to be able to test my blood sugar level so that I can know how much insulin I need in order to live? Because see, now I'm realizing that I need to take this a lot more seriously than I had been, because it's life or death. I have never experienced that. So lastly, I went back and talked to my patient advocate, who said, pull it from that Walgreens and have another Walgreens pull this prescription in. My mother said, just bring it to Sacramento. She said, I love my pharmacist. It's the Walgreens. And when they prescribe me stuff, she stops me and asks me, why did they give you this? Well, you don't need this. I'm gonna fill the prescription, but eat some oatmeal once a day. Don't take this medicine. So that woman pulled my prescription and said, wait a minute, are you type 1? I said, yeah. She says, I'm not letting you leave without insulin. Let me get this right for you. In 2 hours, I had my glucometer, I had my insulin, and she said she'll have more for me on Monday, and she'll make sure I have a month's supply. I could not. I said, when you say a healthcare worker type hero, I so appreciated that level of service. And I was grateful to be here with my mother so that I could have that experience. But so I'm working on it, y'all. I'm working. I'm actively working on it because I love bubblegum and sugary drinks. I'm done talking.
This is so in December we are going to be holding another live conversation that is going to be talking about the Black health agenda. that will be put out. And this is letting me know that so food is just a dot in the dot, dot, dot. Um, Food, the lack of access to healthy food, all of that, it leads to it. There is a historical connection to soul food that we don't have to dive too deep in, but I mean, we know where chitlins come from. We know that that the intestines, that is thrown away, that's what you take, and then you make the best, of what it is that you have access to. And we know that in our communities, in Black and Brown communities in particular, that, well, I'm going to say in Black communities, because we say Black and Brown because we also are afraid to leave out the Brown, and because we don't want to lift up, the Black. However, I'm gonna say Black communities, but in low socioeconomic communities, that you don't have access to healthcare, you don't have access to grocery stores, you don't have access to fresh fruit and produce, you don't have access to any of these things. And so, my children put up a picture on social media that just messed me up when I seen it, and I'm sharing it because yeah, it really messed me up. I was upset when I seen it. I was like, y'all, this is so unhealthy. And they were like, shut up, Tama. And they put me on straight up blast. They was like, it's unhealthy to you now. Right? Um, y'all see that? Look. Okay, my son posted this picture in our family chat group. I see your look, Pastor Curtis. I see your eyebrows up. Uh-huh. I see you taking deep breaths and putting your glasses on. I see you. I see you covering up your face, Pastor Kelvin. Donna, I see you salivating over there. Drooling. For me, I was looking at this and I was like, oh my God, they put that up. And I said, that is nothing but starch and carbohydrates and fat. That's not good fat either, and that's like heart attack on the plate, I mean, like just waiting to happen. And my kids was like, for real, mom? That was our staple growing up. You made that for us like all the time. And that's what that and all I could do was stop and be still for a minute and say, okay, okay, God. That's a now, mind you, am I drooling inside? Absolutely. Look at the deliciousness of the cheese and all of that different stuff, over the pasta and everything. And oh, is that really beef? I'm not quite sure of all the hormones that are inside the actual cattle that they slaughter when they got ready to, put it and package it and put it inside the grocery store. Yes, I'm going all in and all the way there. That's white bread that is on the thing, not wheat bread. And just, oh my goodness, y'all, that was a staple because we had to make it through the month. I had 4 children, food stamps. I needed to get what I could get in order to stretch it. Oh, and all the teenagers came to my house and ate. So they showed up and ate like I was rich, So yeah, and they never was hungry because they always got fed. But I with no vegetables. You get vegetables on food stamps, you get vegetables, and that may last you the first couple of weeks of the month if it stays good. But to go back and get fresh fruit and produce, no, you don't have access to that. And you got to go all the way clean across to the other side of town. And do you know how many stores you have to go to in order to make groceries? In my 50s, single, no children, I am able to grocery shop in ways that I was not able to grocery shop when I was raising my children. And I was killing us, and I didn't know it.
Yeah.
I remember going to the mosque one time, and the sister who was speaking said to the women, "You all are scientists in the kitchen."
Hmm.
and what you cook in your family, you could be killing them. So you need to understand. I said a scientist. There's science to food. I said science. Now you got like Bill Nye, the science guy, and all those kind of people who do those type of things to talk about, like, seriously, the way that even acid and fat mix and what that does and how it breaks down, all that. The science of the gastropub, if you will. It is serious business, but again, when you are a young mom, I mean, I'll tell you the truth. WIC saved my life. WIC saved my children's life, because that's where they started. I mean, I was an avid reader, so every time they gave me something, it was like, okay, what is this? Okay, eat fresh leafy vegetables. I should incorporate them. Don't put sugar in the baby's bottle at night in the water. Don't put the baby to bed with a bottle. All those type of things that I was able to learn because of community education that
Right.
was available at the time.
Right.
But everybody don't pay attention to that. They get they
Well,
WIC.
no, because everybody's in survival mode trying to
That's
make it.
right. That's
Ain't
right.
nobody got time to sit and read all of these pamphlets. I'm getting WIC and access to it. And Pastor Kelvin, I've seen you come off of mute. I'm picking up my WIC vouchers and going to get it because it's another addition to the groceries that I need to add in order to make it through the month. Pastor Kelvin, what were you going to say?
And just along the lines of what we were talking before about just the terminology and the different um, words, as it were, that are used to identify what's in our communities and what we see in other communities. We have convenience stores, but you mentioned how that we have to go through past five convenience stores in our communities to get to a grocery store or a supermarket in other communities. We have liquor stores in our communities, but BevMo's in other communities. So it's just this total, as we know it, this disenfranchisement. Hope I said that correctly. And where our communities were just so marginalized on so many levels. And here we are talking about food, but my mind keeps going to how systemic and how systematic and how deep racism flows as we're talking about food, and as we all had our own brushes, as it were, within the healthcare system, and how I'm hearing, how Pastor Curtis, and I didn't really think about this, how even I had to be my own advocate relative to my health, and we all have to. Last thing I would say right now is, and no disrespect to First Lady Smith, but I want to hear more about Pastor Curtis's booty call and burgers. Because I heard that, bro, and I'm not letting that slide. So one day, but in all seriousness, I was sent a text, a very good friend of mine, I'll leave it at that for right now, texted me about, even when we're looking at our food and the lack of color or the color in our foods and how that equates to, how many nutrients are in that, or the amount of nutrients that are in foods that have color opposed to the others. And just listening to our stories is just a trip, because you move at a pace relative to where you are. Pastor Curtis brought the scripture to mind, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And all we knew was fried chicken, chitlins, and somebody mentioned it before, gotta have a bowl of black-eyed peas for New Year's, and gotta have the chitlins for New Year's, and anything you have to clean for a day or two that leaves this incredible stench in your house. We should have known that was not good for us. And we celebrated that. you called your friends, I'm fixing chitlins, and you get 15, 20 Negroes in a house celebrating death.
You better preach on a Saturday.
I mean, it's crazy what's been done to us. It's just, let me jump off because I'll go in on this. This topic you picked is not just about food. It's about our spiritual well-being, our mental well-being, our psychological well-being. Is much deeper than the deep fried food that we've all mentioned. It's I keep telling you, sis, you God's anointed you.
Wait, Tama, and I know you finna go in even deeper. I'm going to go back to something Pastor Curtis you said. Ooh, and it's emotional. So y'all, it's just emotional. It's emotional for me. The deeper I got involved in the church, the bigger I got. I was running from so much trauma and so much pain, and I was hiding in the church like, oh God, Gideon. I was like Gideon, hiding, right? And so I'm working and working and working in the church, and I'm not saying that the church is bad, not at all, y'all. I am not saying that serving in the church is bad, not at all, y'all. But I didn't even see the signs that I was covering up and masking my pain. And because of my trauma that I had dealt with, I was just eating and eating and eating. I stopped smoking, and I contributed my weight gain to I just stopped smoking. No, it was emotional trauma, and I was hiding behind this weight, and I was so afraid to live. And at some point, I got to where I was almost 400 pounds. I was 3 pounds short of 400 pounds. I was watching my 600-pound life, looking at them, thinking, God, I'm only 200 pounds away from that. I've got a walker that I'm using because my back went out because of herniated disc and degenerated disc disease and all of that. Tama was going with me to the hospital in order for them to clean a wound on my leg that wouldn't heal because of poor circulation. These are things that we don't talk about. I'm just like, hey, y'all was transparent. I'm gonna be transparent. I mean, like my body was not. I was retaining fluid. I couldn't. And when I changed my eating habits a couple of years ago, my cholesterol started coming down. My circulation started getting better. I'm exercising, and then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, it was like, okay, now what? My eating habits didn't change, but I'd never changed what I ate. Catch what I'm saying.
Yeah.
My eating habits, I had changed my eating habits, but I didn't change what I was habitually eating. I didn't read the labels. I got post-its everywhere now. I didn't read the labels. I didn't know. So I wasn't paying attention to what was going into my body. I didn't know. So it's like, okay, I had to start looking at stuff and saying, Pastor Kelvin, why are my hormones so out of whack? Why am I retaining so much fluid when I eat chicken or when I eat this? What's going on with that? And what I started to come into the understanding of is that there were hormones that I was ingesting that was throwing my hormones out of whack. I would go and stop eating meat for a couple of weeks. And this actually is because of the ministry that I've been participating with. Shoot, Pastor Chris be like, okay, everybody, we going on a fast. And I'm begrudgingly on a fast. Now, what you gonna fast from? And so, Lord, I'm not gonna eat no meat for a couple of weeks. And all of a sudden, weight would start coming off, water would start coming off. I was retaining fluids, and fluids would start coming off. I mean, like I was bloated, and the bloating would start coming down. I would have more energy. And I was realizing there was a coalition, there was a connection between what was going on with the meat and what was going into my body. Man, the nutrition and all of this different stuff that was going on with me, my joints, my knees, my back. Do you know how it feels to be in your mid 40s on a walker because your back is completely blown out? to have a walker on the side of your bed so that when you wake up in the middle of the night, you have the support in order to stand up, to move around. And for me, I thought that was going to be my life. And if we go back, Pastor Curtis, to the story, even with that, having to have someone come in and advocate fiercely for me, trying to understand why I was still on a walker, because I had my insurance, and my doctor was on vacation, and one doctor says, well, here's some medicine for the pain, you need to go in and get an MRI, but now we can't get you in until about 3-4 weeks out, so now I'm on a walker for 3 or 4 weeks because y'all can't get me in order to get an MRI. And then you do get the MRI done, and now I got to wait another 2 weeks to see the doctor so that you can read it to me and tell me what's going on. Somebody advocated for me so fiercely to where I had the heads of neuro calling me and said, making appointments for me to come in to go over my thing. I'm thinking I just need shots and steroids in my bag, and she said, no, you're too young for that. That is not what you need. You've got to stay mobile. You've got to strengthen your core. Here are some things you got to do. Here's some stuff you got to stop taking this and this and this medicine. They had me on 3 different medications, one for pain. And I have addiction issues and kept telling them, and they still trying to give me narco. They're still trying to give the stuff. So that we have to know ourselves, and we have to advocate, you guys, fiercely for ourselves. I'm gonna push pause on that. Tom, I'm pass it to you.
Can you hear me now? Oh, yay, yay. Mine boils down to 2 very earthly things: longevity and vanity. It's been 3 generations since my family broke 100. And I want to return to that. I'm planning on breaking 100. I'm planning on being cute while I do it. I cannot do either one if I am eating unhealthy. I don't have a history of very unhealthy eating. I was a vegan for 20 years in the 80s when it was hard to be a vegan. So I know how to make ghee. I know how to create millet burgers. I can F up a Daniel's fast. You give me a Daniel's fast, bet. I'm good. Pastor Curtis said something that I have been furiously scribbling about. He talked about DNA, and I'm looking at DNA, and my writer's mind is thinking DNA being an acronym for do not accept. Do not accept that you are big boned. We all got bones. They all weigh the same. Do not accept that you are tall so you can carry it. I don't want to carry it. I don't have to carry it. Do not accept.
Mama, do you know how many people keep telling me how good I look? 400 pounds. Girl, you look good. Don't lose that weight. You look good. You just thick. You just this. You just that. My back breaking and knees hurting. 400 pounds hurts.
Yeah.
The problem is, Tony, that they don't add on that part that they're thinking, and they don't add on. You look good for a big person.
Right
you look
there.
good for a.
That part right there. So don't accept that one. I don't care how tall you are. There is a certain amount where it is not good to carry, period. Don't accept time limitations. I don't have time to do this research. Do you know how many conscious cooks there are on TikTok and can break down nutrition and recipes and techniques in a 3-minute video? So we don't have that luxury of saying, I don't have time, because we do. We don't have time not to, because then time's going to run out. Do not accept a slave narrative. Oh, we have a history. It goes back to antebellum. No. Like I said earlier, we came here healthy. We have a history of surviving unhealthy food habits, but we also have a history of living. Having a garden outside of a slave quarters, that was an act of revolution. That was an act of resistance. And we know people in our community, they're our beloved elders. We go back in time with them that had collard greens growing in the front yard or on the side yard or in the backyard. That is an act of resistance and revolution. We don't have to accept a history of bad food habits as destiny going forward. The other thing Pastor Curtis said about, and Pastor Kelvin, and we've all said this throughout this conversation, about being our own advocates, taking things into your own hands. That means when you pick up this jar of Paul Newman spaghetti sauce, then you're looking not just to see what the ingredients are, you want to check that sodium. You want to get, and you want to pick up food that you have to prepare with your hands rather than food that you are unwrapping with your hands, taken out of plastic boxes and cardboard boxes and styrofoam containers. If you are taking your health into your hands, that means you're actually holding foods that you got to cut and peel and steam. And then you got to use your artist's eye, because if it looks pretty, then it's good for you. If you got a green and a yellow and an orange and a white, if it looks cute on the plate, it's going to look cute and act cute in your system. And you can go to Walgreens with $20 and you can change your staples. You can change from white rice to brown rice. You can get a pound of lentils. You can get a bag of onions. You can change how you cook just by changing how you think about cooking. And that's where you do not accept ignorance. Do not accept that it's hard. It's not hard. It is an act of discipline, but that's different from being hard. That's a matter of retraining. And that's just a matter of repetition. The same way that we repeat unhealthy habits, we can learn to repeat and embed healthy habits. And we don't have to necessarily break up with soul food. There's so many healthy components inside of soul food. Black eyed peas is a staple. It's the thing that we do on New Year's. That goes back to the continent with us. Greens go back to the continent with us. Okra goes back to the continent with us. I don't think that we have to say goodbye to soul food. I just think that we have to redefine what it is and our relationship to it. Just kind of upgrade it. Soul Food 2.0. Now that's somebody I can date. That's somebody I can date for a long time.
Well, so Pastor Curtis, what did you do? How did you change your eating? I seen you come off of mute, so whatever you were going to say that, and then.
Yeah, I mean, it'll tie that directly into that too, because as someone was saying, there's some definitely some new cookbooks out there. There's there's a neo soul movement, not just in the music, but also in the way that we eat. When you're talking about soul food, how you're doing it, in a healthy version. So you can even look up, as I say, neo soul, cookbooks and things like that have healthy versions of soul food cooking. My own cousin, she did a vegan cookbook. It's called God Speaks in the Kitchen. Her name is Linda Jones. Plug. She's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. But it's God Speaks in the Kitchen. For me, there were messengers, Tony, like that came along the way. I remember the story about people being in the flood on top of the house, and the people come, like the plane comes, the ambulance, all these people come, and they say, I'm waiting on God, right? And then when they finally die and get to heaven, he's like, where were you? And he's like, well, I sent you a plane. I sent you a helicopter. I sent somebody on the boat. You kept waiting for me. And so I've had those people. I had people who were vegans come in my life at certain times during this process. I had people who were vegetarians. I've gone to conferences with people I know that were 7-day Adventists that were like, don't miss your blessing. And along the way, I saw where God sent something or someone along the path to change my direction. I didn't pay attention. I didn't take heed, to those messengers. And so I think of, what Thomas said about, do not accept, but we have to also know what to accept, right? At the time to what to change, and who to listen to, and listening to our bodies. That's where I should feel I wasn't in tune, as you were saying, with the inflammation and with the things that were happening. And even when we go back to talking about, to say the church itself, and not be in a bad place, but what have we accepted in those spaces to be acceptable, right? Because it's not just enough to be say God used me, but I want to be usable, right? And so in that, Methodist, I didn't want to be in a place, it's the only place I should say that I was in that accepted the size, that accepted the unhealthiness that my temple had become. It was acceptable to be that size there, because as long as I could sing, I was accepted, because that was part of it. If I was big, I could sing. Okay, that came with the package. Let's let the big woman get up there. Oh, she gonna blow. Really, she ain't got to even open her voice yet. She ain't even got to say a word. But because of what she looks like, the girth and the sound, she's gonna sing, right? And so the culture that we've created and allowed to be a place, not knowing. And when I began to change and lose weight, then people were asking, "Is everything okay? Are you all right?" I said, this is in reverse, because nobody was asking me that question when I was 400 pounds. When I was taking praise breaks, and the praise break wasn't when the music came on. The praise break was because I could not last through the song to do my dance, right? So that was my praise break. I had to break off from the praise because I couldn't make it. So that's where you just do the two, just wave your head a little bit more. So nobody, right, was addressing the fact that I was really dying and I needed to change. And so what I did, Tony, and like I said, it was a back and forth type of situation. This time in my life right now has been the first time that I took a path, I should say, that I heard about a long time ago, but I started doing the research, as Tom was mentioning. I started looking at Dr. Sebi, and looking at the things that he was putting out and talking about minerals. Dr. Wallach, who was talking about your body is made to actually repair and heal itself. I started looking at Let Food Be Thy Medicine. I started looking at these documentaries that started telling me about what the food was doing, where it was coming from. And as a community organizer and advocate in that space, I started looking at the system again that we were living in to see who's profiting off of this right now.
Wait,
in the medical field.
wait. One thing I want to add to this, Pastor Curtis, I want you to just a comma. COVID. When COVID hit, I kept hearing this based on what you're saying. I kept hearing I kept hearing anti-vaxxers say this to me, and it hurt me, and they didn't know they were hurting me. Well, the truth is, COVID is only impacting those that already have, ooh,
Pre-existing.
that already have issues. And so, people that are obese, that already have pre-existing conditions, they didn't know. And I'm saying it, but someone that I love dearly has said it to me over and over again, not realizing. So what you're saying in translation is COVID is only going to kill me and people like me because I'm obese with pre-existing conditions. So anyway, go ahead. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
So I was reminded of that when you were talking.
Yes, and I think we even had that discussion, because I was just like, to the person that was saying that, I was like, you're talking about me, because when they started listing this, it's like bingo, like everything on that board, I'm checking off and saying I am the prime target. So even though COVID doesn't have to be, I should say, racist, is that because of what has all occurred prior to COVID, I am now in the category and a target for this disease, for this virus to get me. So, so when you talking about what did I change, and I'll talk about this specific moment because I went back and forth. I did diet programs, the diet center. I had success in those things, but I didn't change my mind, right? And I had goals. Oh, I'm going to be in this, but okay, I'm singing at this wedding, so I got to do this by this time. As soon as I hit that goal, Kelvin, I went back to my girlfriends, right? So as soon as I hit my goal, I went back to those things. So this time around, it was like I felt out of, how should I say, I felt like I was like the COVID situation was out of my hands, out of my control. And even though I had taken some steps, I say, as far as health wise, I still had noticed that when we started quarantining and working at home and, and being in our homes, I started noticing that I started gaining weight and I started getting back towards the same amount of weight where I was when I first had my stroke in 2016. And I was like, oh no, I can't do this. I can't afford to get, to this place. I got my son, my wife, and I went beyond basically what it's just doing to me, but also who am I affecting that loves me, cares about me. What's this mean as far as my place that God has put me in, the community work that I do? What does this mean if I basically do the things that take me out of here? And not that I'm the one that's doing it all, but there's a reason and a purpose for what I do and what I'm doing. So now there's much more of a meaning for my life, to the people around me, to myself, to the work that I do, and to that commitment. And so with that is that COVID seemed out of my control. Like I could not totally do what it needed to protect myself. So I kept hearing about those pre-existing conditions and about who it's going to hit and who's in danger. And I feel like all I can do right now is take myself out of the target. How do I get myself further away from where it's going to, where it's affecting and where it's moving? So the only thing I felt in control of was me and my health. So COVID's on its way, or it's here. So I need to move out of its way. And so basically that's what I began to do. And my wife and I, we made a commitment. Actually, it was like last Christmas, even before I say the pandemic really hit, even before we knew that this was coming, is that we said, well, we were going to give ourselves each for this Christmas, we were going to give each other life. We were going to actually basically make commitments in order to say that we're going to live, and do our best on our part. Like if there's anything that comes, it's basically, okay, it must be God's will. But other than that, I'm going to do all that I can do in order so that I can be here for you, that I can be here for my son. I want my son to know how to live a healthy life, and everything. So I just started looking at things. I did, and I started out with some stuff that people know. I did some keto for the first few months. I lost about 30, 40 pounds, on that. I joined a website called Healthy Wage, where you bet on your own weight loss. So I was like, if I could win some money, I can do that too. So I made a wage on my own weight loss. I won $1,200 the first go round of making a wage. So I bet on me, right? I bet on me in this journey, because I found out too that you can ask for somebody to be an accountability partner, but you can also ask the wrong person to be the accountability partner, because they won't tell you the truth. And sometimes when you get to this point, you're like, no, I need someone who's going to tell me the truth. I'm giving you permission to pull my coattail and everything. So that's a whole nother thing. But I did that. And what I learned along the way is I did Whole Foods. There's a program, an app I got that's called Whole Food program that actually was nationwide. And what they do is basically teach you how to eat, whole food, plant-based, type of things. And they even make it easy. You have the app, you can scan stuff in the store and see if it's approved as a whole food or not. And so I did that for about 30 days. My niece introduced me to that movement. Even, and as Kevin was saying, that you have to be careful, because as these fads become popular, people start to profit off of these things, and they put stuff in the stores and they labeled it a certain way because they know that it's popular now. So yeah, you still have to know, because basically they'll get you into that trap, and you'll find out that that's no better than that thing that says fat-free is no better than the one you might as well just eat the real thing. I did, and like you said, we did the fast, so I did get off of meat, for a while. And what I started to do, Tony, is that through these apps, different apps and things, I started to count my carbohydrates. I counted everything I was taking in for the day, and I began a food journal, basically in order to see, how does this make me feel? So if I'm noticing that I am, getting, like I say, inflammation and I'm swelling up, something caused that, because I can look at my feet in the morning and say, we're good, right? I can look at it and say, we're good, because I can tell if they're swelling up or not. So I didn't put myself into a category, so to speak. I didn't become a vegan. I didn't become a vegetarian. I became aware. And so
You
with
know,
that, I understood too that, even like Thomas said, I don't have to break up the relationship, but I knew that if I was to spend this much time doing the right thing, when Thanksgiving came, I was able to sit down with my family and indulge in some of the same things that they
mhm,
were, but I had enough discipline to know that this was it, right? I can't make this, a revival. I had to actually know this is it. And I enjoyed it. And I saw that it didn't have an effect. My blood sugar didn't spike. My pressure didn't spike and everything like that,
mm,
because anything, it was in moderation, and it only happened then. I didn't
right.
have a cheat day. Guess what? I planned my day. If there was something I wanted to say, I didn't have to cheat because there were no more affairs going on. So I planned it. This is something I want. And guess what? I'm going to have it. And guess what? I'm going to do so good that I'm going to deserve it on this day at this time. And I'm going to get this thing that I've been missing and everything. And I know when to stop. It's done and it's over with. So it's just like, you have to know you and find out what works best for you. But believe me, I just use many different techniques, but I have to go back and watch and listen to those things and keep those things in my system, in my mind, because
Mm.
it's so easy to just slip back in, because again, you'll let progress fool you and you'll be off.
So it sounds like you had a lot of support. Um, you've done a lot of research. You had to really, really just pay attention to your body and listen to your body. And prior to all of that, you had to really have the mindset to say, I want to live.
Yeah, and
Um,
real quick, Tony, too, is that when you say that a lot of support is, and there's so much, when I say that as far as support, is that even when you're thinking about the support and who is understanding, because again, with this lack of knowledge and this thing, we have been taught so many different things, so many ways, is that I know that I have family around me that truly, truly loves me, right?
mhm,
But they don't understand this, because this is not what we're used to doing. So when they were looking at the different things and different methods that I was using, even if I was trying, look, fasting. Now, this is something that we, in our Christian nature, we say we should do, fast and pray. But then when I
right.
begin to fast, I begin to also, by the same Christians, be criticized for that. You're going to make yourself sick. You're doing unhealthy things. You shouldn't. And I have to make sure I separated that and know that they're not attacking me. They don't understand. So I have to be careful about what I'm sharing, when I'm sharing, what I'm doing, and just let the results basically preach for me. Let those things, and let me, let them become. And now I'm getting people that come like Nicodemus at night and want to pull me off to the side when the family gets together and ask me questions, because we'll be in a space basically where you'll be ostracized now for being healthy, for making the right decisions, or making, that, and making the right decisions for you. I don't go in preaching to nobody saying this is what you should do. Because I've been there. I didn't like that when it was done to me. So I don't do that. This is what's working for me. If somebody asks me, I share, and everything like that. I don't force anything what I'm doing upon anybody else.
Wow.
Tony, what do you always say? In all you're getting,
Get understanding.
you're understanding.
Get understanding. And I believe that for me, in the beginning of this, I want us to 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 begin winding down. And as we're winding down, um, all of us are, let's see, in our late 40s to early 50s. So Tama is 60. We're over 45.
Tama is 64. Thank you very much.
Tama is 64.
Yeah. This is not gray. This is glitter growing from my scalp. Thank you.
um, Stroke, backs, just longevity, diabetes, pre-diabetes. Um, there are things that happen, that kind of like, springboard you, jolt you into a reality. Donna, how easy is it to change your lifestyle? I mean, is this easy? Is it easy for you? You was just in ICU 2 days ago, short of dying.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because I got to my mom's house and it's near Halloween, right? So she's got this big old bowl of bubble gum and candy and I looked at it and I said, okay. And I walked past and I was like, yeah, all right, all right, all right. And I felt good because when I looked at my bag and I had some candy in it and I pulled it out and I was like, mm-mm. So I decided to drink some water. But I will say the next day I had a piece of bubble gum and I slid by there and I got me one of them little mini Snickers now. And then I had a soda. So no, it's not easy to change. It's not easy. And here's the thing. I know I take full responsibility for my disobedience. I take full responsibility for my health and what happens and doesn't happen. And so when I did go and get some dinner, I didn't get cake, although I did want some really bad.
So the want doesn't go away. The desire doesn't
I
go
think
away.
that I feel like maybe I should explore detoxing sugar in an intentional way so that I can, because it's like if I drink water, if I just choose to drink water, and sometimes I have to speak to myself and say, I choose water. Okay, I choose water. So I'll choose water. And if I'm doing that consistently, then eventually, everything is sweet. Oh, that's too sweet. But what an addict does, right? Because I say I'm an addict. What an addict does is pushes past that sweet until it tastes good again. And so I am realizing, when Pastor Curtis talked about retreating back to old habits, once I feel like, oh, I didn't had a couple of good sugars, I didn't had a couple of good readings and all the stuff, then I think I'll treat myself to a sweet because I've been doing so good. And abstinence might be the best thing for me.
I'm so sorry.
Don't laugh. Not every- I'm talking about sugar. Not honey. Some people so I'm grateful to have people in my life who I've been able to witness have this awesome recovery process through NA, FA, AA, and these types of things. And so I sit back in awe of some of the ways that has been very helpful for them to sustain sobriety, if you will. And so I got to figure this thing out though, because at the end of the day, I have to choose life. And so maybe when I pick up the little sniquito, I'll say I choose life and put it back in the bowl.
I so I had to get help um because nothing was working for me. Um and I made up my mind earlier this year. This was one of my goals, Pastor Curtis, that I have on my, so earlier this year, we set goals, and this was one of my goals was health and wellness for me, and I needed help. I needed help, and so, but in order to get the help that I needed, I had to go through a journey of learning, and so since January, I have been, yes, it was a vision board. And in January, I started, seeing a counselor, and I started also seeing a nutritionist every month, and learning. I had somebody help me learn how to read labels. Um, I was accountable to my nutritionist every month to show, what I was buying for groceries, and try different things. I'm bougie and I'm very spoiled when it comes to taste buds. And, at the end of the day, it's like you want what you want. Um, and what I had to do, Pastor Curtis, is make a decision. Tony, do you want to continue to want what you want? Or are you going to go ahead and make up your mind to want what you need? That's hard when especially when you feel like you've sacrificed, I'm sacrificing all these things. So, transparency, I was like, okay, when you said abstinence, well, I figured since I had been abstaining from, sex, because I'm single, right, for, 10 billion years, I should be able to eat what I want, so that was my reward, you know I'm doing this good over here, and so I'm going to do that. um it wasn't until about 2 months ago, maybe 2 months ago, I don't know, time of what, September, August, when Pastor Curtis, whenever we went on that 30-day 21-day fast, I found out that I was addicted to sugar, and I was pissed because I was literally going through withdrawal from sugar. I could not believe it. And at this point, it's like I am addicted to sugar against my will. That's how I felt. Because whatever it is that is in sugar that is addicting, I didn't know it was in there. So now I'm an addict against my will. I was pissed. That really drove me to not allow that. I don't want to be addicted to anything. What were you going to go ahead, Anna?
I don't know if we touched this because I know I tapped out, but just in case we didn't, we should familiarize ourselves with the fact that McDonald's and Jack in the Box and all these different food chains have uh, sh- extra sugar in ketchup, extra sugar in the Coca-Colas, and so on and so forth, because of the addictive quality of sugar. Heinz or whomever is manufacturing on their behalf some of these things that they have, those contracts are very specific. It's different. You can't get this kind of Coca-Cola in the store. You can only get it at McDonald's.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And so that really is a thing where fast food is designed to create an addict, designed to do that.
So let me have you guys go around here, and Pastor Kelvin, go ahead first, and then I'm going to give you your last wrap up question.
Okay, just real quick, to piggyback on what you had asked. It's been proven, I've read, that it takes about 21 days to form a habit. So what I instill in people, encourage to people, whatever they're trying to do, not do, change, is that give yourself a month. And whatever that month is, whether it's 28 days in that month, 30 days in that month, 31 days, give yourself a month to do whatever again you're trying to change. And it's worked for me. So to answer your question, is it hard? I think, yeah, but it's only as hard as we make it, I believe. And that's with anything. And so what I would encourage people that are watching live right now, watch this, after we finished and it's been recorded and published is give yourself 30 days or a month, I should say, whatever month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very, very helpful because it was once I haven't gone back. And now I have to be mindful. And the other thing is, you know what, Pastor Kelvin, what was amazing is after going through that 21-day fast from the sweets, just the sugar, I went and got some. I'm eating. My best friend is a sugar-free popsicle. Did y'all know that those are really good? Um, that the amount of sugar, and I have a post-it that I keep right here on my computer. Y'all can't see what's on it, but I keep it to not exceed 25 grams of sugar per day, and to not exceed 15 grams of carbs per day. So now I'm like, I'm trying to make sure that there's a certain amount of protein, that I'm taking in, and that there's more protein than there is sugar, so it's this amount of protein and, 5 grams of sugar. I'm like really, really leaned in trying to pay attention, to what it is that I'm putting in my body in order to fuel my body with what it needs. And no, is it easy? No. It takes effort, intentionality, thoughtfulness. It does. It takes all of that. Is it worth it? Hmm. Hmm. It is worth it. I'm worth it. I'm worth it. So is it worth it? I don't know if it is, but I know I am. So rap question, it would be this. So I just kind of let it out as far as, is this easy? What will you say to encourage those that that are struggling, and look at you and say, well, what you say and what you do make this look easy. Y'all thinking hard too. Any of you?
Not so much thinking hard. I know that every year I do a 13-day fast in the month of June to commemorate and celebrate the life and transition of my firstborn. And I know that at the end of, and anybody that's gone on an elongated fast knows that you're getting more messages from your body about what you have been holding on to that's toxic in those first 3 days, because that's when the headaches start. And that's when you feel kind of shaky because you are literally detoxifying. But if you've gone on a long fast, you know that when you hit that middle part of the fast, and then once you get into it, it's actually an act of will to break the fast, because
Mm.
you've changed your routine, you've changed your thought process, you've gone through all of the mental cravings, and now you're in this place where you and your body are connected. Your day isn't revolving so much around food. You're getting stuff done. You've got all of this energy. You are actually resetting your palate. Because, Tony, you've recognized this in your journey, that on the other side, things will start to taste different because you don't have the habit of ingesting it. It's not rote, it's intentional. And you have the ability to reset your palate after a fast. Um, and so, what I did this year after my June fast was I made the decision, I don't do that much turkey. So what if I just gave that up? And if I can give that up, what if you just went ahead and gave up chicken altogether? It's not like I'm going to go back to being a vegan, but somewhere in the middle of vegan and pescatarian. And day after day, I recognized I can do this. And it is that 30-day walk, Kelvin. It is that retraining of your thought process and your routine. But I've been pescatarian since June 25th. I am basically pescatarian / vegan. There is a universe of discovery when you change your diet, and that is not punitive. It's not a punishment. It is actually figuring out your own creativity in creating a menu and a routine and a lifestyle that literally looks good on you. And are you worth that? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Is it difficult? Yes, it's difficult, but so is putting on false eyelashes. We managed to do that. I'm just saying, just try it.
And you know what? It's difficult changing and it's difficult not. Because it's difficult. It was difficult carrying 400 pounds. It was difficult carrying 400 pounds, and with help and with support, I'm down over 50. Um, Difficult, yeah. 50 pounds, it's difficult. So yes, it's not easy. It's not easy making the change, but I'm telling you now, it's not easy not making the change.
I want to just say, so proud of what you have done and what you've accomplished so far. You talked about support earlier, and I would like to, as I said in my last comments, to those who may not have the issue but are around people that do, is that we support the people that that are going through it. What I should say, the shaming sometimes of somebody that actually decides to make the change, is that is what we need to actually take heed of, the people that are I should say making you feel uncomfortable because you have made the changes, the people that will not invite you out to eat anymore because they think that you've changed your lifestyle, so therefore you can't find anything on the menu anymore, that they don't that they don't have anything for you, they don't want you to be uncomfortable, right? So those people, those the family members who don't talk about the changes in lifestyle that people are trying to make, they're actually trying to live, but support, the people in their changes, learn a little bit more about them, to talk about, why they're making the change. Because maybe you didn't have to deal with diabetes or your side of the family. Maybe it comes from the other side of the family. So you need to understand, kind of what they're going through. And maybe I have to take more drastic measures because of what, I'm going through or what I've been diagnosed with. I have to do things more drastically, I should say, in order, because of the time frame, my age, or whatever that may be. But I would encourage people to do that. About the advocacy part, is find a doctor that cares, find a doctor that will go to bat for you, but also that will also
Yes,
listen to you and not rush you out of the space. Do
yes,
not become a cattle call, in your doctor's office. Become somebody that they actually, since they're going to practice medicine, let's practice for a long time, right? Let's get better, at this thing. So find the right person. That's what I had to do after the stroke. Is that I had a cousin that was able to get me into her doctor's office where she worked, even though he wasn't taking any more patients. So she got me in there, and I've been with him ever since. So the right team, I should say, for your support, the right team, the right place to be celebrated, and also, just love you enough, basically, to live, eat to live, and don't live to eat.
I love that, Pastor Curtis. I absolutely love that. Donna, and then Pastor Kelvin, I'm gonna come to you.
The Food and Drug Administration are in bed together, you know, they're married. And like Pastor said, as
Mhm.
much as we've been eating this and doing this, and the food pyramid changes, and now this is healthy, eat eggs, don't eat eggs, milk, dairy, no dairy, whatever the thing is, I would imagine that one would have to find the path that best suits them. And then, as Tama brought out, there's so much information that is accessible on this computer here. You know, there was a time, as a matter of fact, my youngest daughter said there was a time where you could say, well, I don't have no resources and I don't know how to be a good parent because it ain't no. She said, now when you got Google, you can find out anything you want to find out. But more than that, absolutely. I have a friend who had a health crisis recently, and the first thing we did was took everything out of the cabinets that was processed food, took everything out of the refrigerator, and started over with fresh vegetables and things like that, and making a decision to purge. And for myself, I'll say that, you know, as I sit here in my mom's office, and she's got all the family pictures around here, and my grandbaby when she was still a new baby, and all my children, and I want to live. And so if that's what you want to do, and not just live but thrive, then we have to be responsible for the choices that we make and make those changes. And the only one who can do it at the end of the day is you. I wasn't one of them kind of parents who took responsibility for anything my kids did because they knew better. Because at the end of the day, I'm not there when they make that final decision. It has to be on them. And so our choices around our health, our wellness, our advocacy, our mental health, our spirits and our energy, and all of those things that will can heal and reverse disease. That's what I want to do. And I know it's going to be a journey, but I'm willing to take it. And I know that I am fortunate to have a village such as this. And I am appreciative of the opportunity to share and participate today.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and and for just coming into this space, especially after having a near death experience, and you literally almost died. So we really, really do love you, and we're so grateful. And I'm so glad that you want to live and thrive. Um, Pastor Kelvin, you're going to take us out, and so I'm not going to end on my note. I'm going to say this now. I wanted to. Um, I want to say to whatever support you need, get it. Whatever help you need, get it. Don't allow yourself to be shamed, um, afraid, any of that. And surround yourself, because there is no easy way to make this lifestyle change. All of us have made this change, and none of us have found an easy way. You just don't wake up the next day, and all of a sudden, um, that change is made. But I am telling you from my own personal experience that if you have done yo-yo diets, in and out of gym, you got multiple memberships, and you done did the 21-day green smoothie this, and the Atkins that, and the keto this, and the intermittent fasting that, and you've tried and tried and tried, and you can't seem to figure it out, and then you get discouraged and you just quit. Don't give up on yourself. You keep trying. You keep fighting for your life. You keep fighting to thrive and to exist. And don't be afraid to ask for help and to get help. Some people need more help than others. And so I watched for years people go in and have weight loss surgery. I've watched them, their lifestyle changes and stuff. I've seen people lose weight naturally, and I've seen people lose weight to where I thought was not naturally by going through any type of bariatric procedures. My doctor, Pastor Curtis, I had Kaiser, and my doctor worked with me for 5 years and finally said, Tony, after 5 years of watching you do all of these things, I am now going to tell you that you need to leave and go get a second opinion. And he had me go and get a second opinion. Kaiser would not take me through bariatric surgery. Kaiser would not do it for me for their reasons. And my doctor, right? What Kaiser physician would tell you to leave Kaiser? And real talk, this doctor cared about me. He said, "Do what you have to do. You can come back. I'll be here when you're done." He said, "But this procedure, it was made to help people like you who have been trying so hard in order to, and it would help you. It's a tool." So I have for over a year been going through all the counseling, all the classes, all of this, all of that. And I promise you, the things that you have to do in the change is no joke. And so I went in, I did it. And I didn't just start losing weight. I had to start losing weight before the actual procedure. Pastor Kelvin, I've watched you make plates. I've watched you, and just the beautiful pictures that you put up. I've watched you get up and walk. I've watched you, Pastor Curtis, and Chris, and the lifestyle change and the eating habits and all of the different things. And Kama, right along with me the whole step of the way. Donna, I've seen when you went through your journey and your battle. I've watched you all, and I've watched others. And I needed to surround myself with a village. And I say this all the time. Ain't nobody that want to be a millionaire sitting in the midst of people that's broke trying to figure out how to become a millionaire. I want to be wealthy. I need to be around people that are wealthy. So I've surrounded myself with a village. And I appreciate y'all because you guys have been all the people that I'm gleaming from as I'm going through this journey in my life as well. So I say that to say, if you need help, get help. Get the help that you need, get the resources that you need. But to sit back and just to not, there's resources out there. Get the help that you need, and don't let nobody, like Pastor Curtis said, make you feel bad for doing what you need to do in order to live and thrive. Pastor Kevin.
Dang, why you do me like that, sis? Sheesh. So thank you again. It's been incredible. I feel like this is the 7 last sayings on Easter, and I'm the preacher that's batting last. So let me say this, and it's pretty much a culmination of what we've all said in our closing. But we've all seen that one car in the hood that is smoking, barely start, but there's a new system inside and the music is bumping and it's on the shiny new 22s, but the engine is jacked up, and so oftentimes we spend so much time trying to beautify the outside of us. We can go into a lot of dialogue about that, which I won't. Pastor Curtis mentioned, the word temple. And so whether, because I don't know everybody's faith tradition, if you have one, don't, that are watching us, but whether you describe your body as a temple or a vehicle, in the analogy that I looked into, I want to close by saying this. to encourage everyone, and that is that you only get one you. So be good to the you have been given. Period. Thank you.
Well, y'all, it's been real. I absolutely love you guys and appreciate all of you that joined us today. This conversation was rich. We love y'all. It ain't easy, but we want y'all to live, right? So all of these different principles, DNA, do not accept. Don't accept the lies. Don't accept don't accept it. Pastor Curtis, do not let progress fool you. If you are moving forward, don't stop and reach backwards. Keep pressing and keep moving forward. You guys, I love you so much and I appreciate you all for joining me today. Thank you so much. You guys be blessed. Take care of yourselves. Remember that we are what we eat. No, it ain't easy, but it's not worth it. You're worth it. Peace.